So to take a second here, we have to have a in memoriam for one of the longest standing institutions here in Canada, Hudson's Bay, announcing liquidation sales begin at all but six of their stores. This is from CP24. Canada's oldest company will begin liquidating most of its stores this morning. Hudson's Bay says all but six of its locations will be selling off their entire inventory. The company is aiming to wrap up the liquidation by June 15th. Gift cards will be accepted until April 6th, but loyalty points cannot be used. The six stores omitted from the liquidation sales include the flagship store on Yonge Street in Toronto, as well as the location in the city's Yorkdale Mall and another farther north in Hillcrest Mall in Richmond Hill, Ontario. The remaining three span downtown Montreal, the Carrefour Laval Mall, and Pointe Claire, Quebec. The liquidation comes after the company filed for creditor protection earlier this month, saying it was facing financial difficulties stemming from lower consumer spending, reduced downtown traffic, and trade tensions between Canada and the United States. So, here's just a little news bit on global news. This is a company that's been around for 355 years, by the way. This is one of the oldest companies that started off as a trading post in Canada, that's been going relatively strong for many, many years. Hudson's Bay, they were also the uh, parent company of Sears, that Sears dissipated back in I think it was 2013. They were closing down the stores. But here's Hudson's Bay. They had the Bay store, which is kind of like a higher up version of Sears. It's like this. It's like the people that thought they were too cool for Sears. But now here they are after 355 years, closing down the doors. So listen to this.
This store I'm in front of here at Bay and Yonge was commissioned in 1895 for the Simpsons department store chain, which was then taken over by the Bay. It became a Bay store in 1991, and this store is just one of six in Canada, three here in the GTA, that will remain open after the liquidation of the Bay chain begins on Monday. In an 8th-floor courtroom in downtown Toronto, a company with more than 350 years of Canadian retail history faced the end of the line.
This is a sad day, in my view, for HBC, which is a Canadian icon, and a sad day ultimately for the employees.
It's an iconic department store. It's gone. Hopefully it's coming back.
But coming back doesn't sound very possible anymore. An Ontario Superior Court judge granted what the Bay and creditors asked for: liquidation. More than 80 stores across the country, but not all. For now, the flagship store in downtown Toronto will remain, another at Yorkdale Mall, one of the busiest retail hubs in Canada, and a third in Richmond Hill, north of Toronto, and three more stores in and around Montreal. Every store west of Ontario and east of Quebec destined to close.
I do not see its Hudson's Bay Company celebrating its 355th birthday coming up on May 2nd.
How this turns out is a big unknown for the six stores.
The court heard the company hasn't been able to find new investors. It's reported to owe about $1 billion to creditors. The liquidation, bad news for Hudson's Bay employees.
Given the population of 9,400 employees, mass termination ultimately will lead to severance claims in excess, probably well in excess of $100 million.
For shoppers,
I am from India, so whosoever comes in Toronto, everyone wants to go to the Hudson Bay only because we find so much good variety over like all brands.
It's nice to keep the flagship, but it's not going to be the same. This is an iconic, the country was founded on this, and it's going to be hard to see it go.
So you hear a lot of nostalgia. I just spoke to one of our Global News viewers from Sault Ste. Marie, Rena, who just came up to say she never shops downtown when she's here, but she wanted to see the Bay today. And that's indicative of what's been going on for the last week. Since this whole announcement of possible liquidation, they've been selling a lot of merchandise, a lot of cash flow, to the point that they don't need an interim loan that they've been able to get. So again, this store, one of the six that won't be liquidated. The others begin on Monday. And a point, if you've got a gift card or a gift certificate at the Bay, those are good, but only if you use them up until April the 6th. Shalima.
A lot of important information right there. Thanks so much for that, Sean.
Well, that's pretty devastating. That's pretty devastating. It's very iconic to Canadian history. It's one of the oldest institutions. And as Mark Nixon points out, saying breaking, Hudson's Bay Company, established in 1670, plans to liquidate its entire business as early as next week, putting over 9,000 jobs at risk. This marks the end of a 355-year legacy in the Canadian retail history. The company faced challenges due to inflation, high interest rates, and shifts in consumer spending. A court appearance is set for Monday to finalize the plans. Liberal policies have caused high inflation and soaring interest rates, accelerating the downfall of a company that survives wars, recessions, and the Great Depression. That's very notable to point out. Hudson's Bay, the original company, has been through hell and high water, even worse shape than it's been right now, but liberal policies that continue to decimate a lot of companies and a lot of small businesses are making this situation worse. And again, do you see any of the rally cries for the government to stop this? That Hudson's Bay doesn't have to foreclose and 9,000 people won't lose their jobs? How about all the small businesses that are constantly being shut down? Is there any sympathy for that? I thought we were Canada strong. I thought we were supposed to be all in this together. 50% of Canadians are just $200 away from financial insolvency. Yet people still vote Liberal. Mind blowing. So that's pretty impactful. That Hudson's Bay, one of the oldest institutions in this country, that's been around since 1670 as a trading post, has been around for the wars, survived recessions, survived the Great Depression, is shutting all of its stores because it cannot handle the neoliberal consolidation, the WEF agenda that wants to destroy the Canadian identity. And it's going to take down mega business interests like Hudson's Bay. And it's been doing it for quite an extensive period, might add. Now, I don't, I'm not a customer of Hudson's Bay. Like I said, it's kind of more uppity when it comes to retail, and especially these days, a lot of people are downsizing where they're buying things and they're going to thrift stores and cheaper value and whatnot. But that's a devastating blow. That's a devastating blow for the country to deal with that. Here's New Republic. The Hudson's Bay Company survived 355 years, 2 world wars, the War of 1812, the Argument of 1837, but could not survive Justin Trudeau. Outstanding stock boy, Justin Trudeau, you killed another piece of Canada. So, again, just pointing out there that while people are doing the elbows up initiative because the TV told them to, just know Donald Trump did not kill Hudson's Bay. Hudson's Bay was on its deathbed long before the tariffs, long before Donald Trump, this America tension war back and forth circus. This is intentional. They did this purposely. And now Hudson's Bay and all of its employees, another big retail establishment, is shutting down stores, which is going to now cause a lot of jobs to dissipate out of this country. And again, where's the rally calls for this? Where's the rally calls to bring this to attention? Where's the accountability? Where's the news media asking Mark Carney, hey, what are you going to do with inflation? What are you going to do with the high interest rates? What are you going to do when all the small businesses, all the even major establishments are leaving Canada? They're either shutting down or they're taking their business elsewhere. Not a single word. Not a single word. And this is a company that's been around for just almost 400 years, 355, but almost 400 years. 2 world wars, the Great Depression, many recessions, and yet they couldn't handle this. Because this is a very bigger blow to our country than previous iterations. Just saying.